I'm not here to just make a quick buck or to have a business work for like a year or two. I love building things that last. And I'm really big on sustainability in every aspect. And there's not a lot of people that have built long lasting and fast businesses because it takes time to build something that's really good.
Yeah.
And the more entrepreneurs that I talk to, the more that I understand like different businesses, not just online businesses, but lots of different businesses, the more I see that these things really take time to figure out who are you really serving? What is it about you and your product or your service that's so unique and different? And what are like all those pieces that takes time to figure out. And that's a different game than just sprinting to hit six figures as soon as possible.
Welcome to the Work Less, Play More podcast for busy entrepreneurs who are ready to ditch the hustle, stop burning out on busy work, and get back to having a life. My name is Lindsay Johnson, aka The Radical Connector, and I've spent the last 10 years teaching first-time entrepreneurs how to get customers and make money. Listen in as I chat with other hustle recovering business owners as we share our top tips for, you guessed it, working less and playing more. Let's do this. Hello, friends. Today, we are talking with Lisa Michaud, host of the Goalden Girls podcast and community. Now, Lisa is a recovering overachiever and people-pleasing perfectionist. No. As she says, she is still absolutely all those things, but she is trying. At the age of 27, Lisa faced a terrifying reality, and that was that she may only have 1 or 2 years left to live. With that wake-up call, Lisa decided to get out of her own way and make the most of the time that she had. Now, as an international success coach, entrepreneur, and speaker, Lisa inspires and motivates you to turn your big dreams into goals that you will actually achieve. Lisa understands that building a sustainable business that will last for years takes time. It also takes outsourcing, specifically outsourcing what isn't making you happy and pivoting to create a business and a life that you love. Something those of us over here at the Work Less, Play More community know 1 or 2 things about. Lisa also understands that it's about how you build your community, aka your village, in a way that will support you and allow you to do the work that lights you up. Never a fan of those old-fashioned SMART goals, Lisa also believes that goals should be big and outrageous, but you need to learn how to take small steps and celebrate your successes along the way. All right, friends, let's get started with my conversation with Lisa. Hello, Lisa. Welcome to the Work Less, Play More podcast. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing so good, Lindsay. I'm so happy to be here with you. And thank you so much for having me. I'm super pumped to be on this podcast.
Yeah, me too. We're going to have a great conversation, and I'm laughing as I was telling another friend about, oh my gosh, I'm recording with Lisa today. I can't wait. Oh, this is going to explode the internet because your energy and my energy, I'm trying to like keep it mellow so that we don't totally blow the mics apart.
I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm like, calm, indoor voice, Lisa, indoor voice. Hopefully we're doing okay.
By the end of this podcast, I'm sure we'll be all talking a mile a minute. So listeners will have to, I'm already starting, listeners will have to reduce their speed to 0.75 to be able to understand us.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for this reminder. I'm like, okay, we don't have to talk a million miles a minute. We'll try and keep this so people can actually hear what we're saying by the end.
So listen, obviously we have a lot to catch up on. It's been a minute and a half since we have actually hung out because pandemics and our regular place of hangout isn't functioning right now. Our co-working spaces, our events. Plus, we've all been super busy. Things have been exploding in wonderful ways. What's going on with you? What's happened over in House Michaud?
Oh my gosh, so much. The last year and almost a half now of the pandemic has been so many ups and downs. And I think everyone I talk to feels the same way. Lots of ups, lots of downs. And my husband works away, so I'm a solo parent to a 3-year-old a lot of the time, which holy moly, that is hard going through like the quote terrible twos into the quote three-nagers. It's just so hard to balance all those things and to do it. I think it's really reminding me of the importance of a village and of community. And our villages have been taken away.
Yeah.
And that's definitely been like one of the downs, and also such a great reminder of how important community is. Yeah. And how I will never again take that for granted, or grandparents again for granted. Come on over, grandparents, do whatever you want, bring whatever cupcakes you want. Anybody, just thank you for the support. Definitely a good reminder that none of us are self-made. I certainly could not do this very much longer. And I'm definitely more community made than self-made. Yeah. So that's, I think, mental health, self-care, motherhood, those have been some definite challenges and things to work through. And then there's also been a lot of really good things. So I think as much as I miss travel so much, I'm a big traveler, the being home has allowed me to explore places I've never explored before. It's given me time and space to work on projects that I don't think I would have worked on before. In my business, I've been more consistent than ever before. We finally have childcare. I've started outsourcing more, which is great. I've started outsourcing more at home finally because I realized I can't do all of the things. And that's been really cool. Yeah. We've just, I think, not necessarily grown in terms of, or my business has not necessarily grown in terms of, I haven't gotten 10 times more followers or 100 times more podcast downloads, but the quality of relationships, the quality of the community we've created, I feel like that's been so much deeper and so much stronger, I think, because of everyone's realizing how important connection is.
Yeah.
And then my husband and I also have a real estate company, and we took this time of no travel to work it. And we've gone from 9 to soon to be 39 doors and counting. So it's been really cool. We've taken the time to learn, grow, put in place some systems, and now we're ready to be like, all right, beach party, a trip, seeing people, real life hugs. And now we're ready for all that after a roller coaster.
After an intense roller coaster to the moon and back. So many things that you just said there, and I want to dive into all of them. The first one I want to dive into is around parenting. We're going to talk about parenting for just a moment. And I know that you needed to make some adjustments to the way that I want to say to your relationship with your daughter as an entrepreneur and as a parent, and put in some clear boundaries for yourself and when you were going to show up as an entrepreneur and show up as a parent. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's a really hard thing to do, and also super important as a parent. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, there's two sides of this coin, right? There's the pro of it and the con of it. My daughter has needs. She is a human person and she cannot do it for herself. So there's a lot of needs there. Mm-hmm. And it's also very specific. Like her daycare is only open between these hours and these hours. And at this time, I have to leave to go pick her up. And so it's very difficult for me to work late in the night or go beyond my 5 o'clock end day, because I physically have to leave and go pick up another human and feed her snacks and help her pee and do all these things and hopefully run her so she's exhausted in time for bedtime at the park and all those things. And so it's funny because there's definitely a lot of days where I'm like, oh, I wish I could just finish this one thing, or I wish I could go to this event, and especially with virtually, it's just, I don't think it's fair to always put the screen time on for her every night when it's our time to connect. And so I miss out on a lot of things. And that definitely, as an entrepreneur, I have struggled with that. Like, oh, I would be so much further ahead if I could just work all the time. It's also the blessing of having a child, of being like, no, I can't. This has to be okay that these are the hours that I work, and I got to get the most done I can. And then I actually have forced downtime, if you will. Like, I'm forced to step away, to run around the park, to go to the beach, to do these things that are not work related. And there's definitely pros and cons of it, but just having a child, like, they have needs. They are the best salespeople in the world. They're relentless. If you're not on it, they will keep asking. So as much as I would love to be like, oh, I'm so good at boundaries, it's more like she's so good at telling me what she needs and I cannot ignore her. Yeah. And so she creates the boundaries for me.
Yeah. The conversations we've had on the podcast up until now with other guests has been about how burnout has taught them to slow down, or their body having like injuries or things like that has taught them to slow down, or their kids, older kids saying, we never see you, has taught them to slow down. And it's almost like a reluctant slowing down, like you're not happy about it. But there was this other component, this other person who's saying, hey, you don't just get to work all the time. Is there a part of you that ever, I'm not going to say resents it, because I know it's not necessarily about resenting it, but a part of you that maybe feels a bit ripped off, like as an entrepreneur, where you're like, I wish I could go as fast as everybody else. I wish I could do as much as everybody else.
Oh my gosh, 100%. 100%. I don't know if resentment is the right word. I think if it's almost like this deep passion and love for both of these amazing things in my life, and that I have to choose. And sometimes even that I don't get to choose, that at that time, the choice is taken away from me to a certain degree. So yes, absolutely. Especially when I see other people getting together and doing photo shoots or doing events, or even Clubhouse. Like when Clubhouse came out, I was like, oh, this is awesome. But being able to schedule, I can't schedule it in the evenings or on the weekends, especially as a solo parent, because I never know when she's and she literally runs and she's like, to the toilet. She's, who coming out? Who coming out? Who coming out? And I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter who is on the clubhouse, who is waiting. I can't do podcast interviews when that's happening. There's just so many things that I cannot do when that's happening. And so definitely like my part of my heart, it gets pulled. And one of the things that I do, and I do this with all of the things, anytime I notice myself having feelings or having thoughts that are resisting where I want to be or how I want to feel, I've written it out a lot, and I've had to rewrite the script on these things. What I do is I grab a piece of paper and I draw a line down the middle, and on one side I write down all the things that are coming up. So the thoughts like, I'm so far behind. I never get to do the work that I want to do. Everyone else is networking and moving ahead. This will never work. All of those thoughts, or I need to finish this one thing, or I wish my kid was older, or all those thoughts. And then what I do on the other side of the page is I then rewrite it to what is true, or what I really believe, or what a role model of mine would think. And so I've had to ask myself, what am I willing to do? Like, am I willing? Because I really could, if I wanted to, I could turn the TV on, the kid will sit there from Moana or Frozen any day of the night. And I could probably work all night, every night.
Yeah.
But I've really had to ask myself, like, what's a bigger picture of my life? What's a bigger vision of who I want to be, the relationships I want to have, the community I want to have, the family, like how I want to support her. And so then I've had to rewrite my script in terms of I'm okay with my business growing maybe a little slower if it means that I'm enjoying the time with my daughter.
Yeah.
And success will come, but it's not going to come at the expense of my relationship with my child, with her growth, and with her feeling valued and worthy and beautiful in everything that she is.
Oh, I just need a moment to absorb that. That was so lovely. And I think that applies to a lot of things. Literally, my whole body's in shivers right now. I can feel the shivers on my legs. I can feel my whole body resonating with what you just said. That goes for so many things, even our relationships to ourselves, and not throwing ourselves under the bus to build a successful business or to build faster, or our mental health, or our other family members or our friends. It even reminds me of when someone's starting a new relationship, a romantic relationship, and they just completely ignore all their friends. We don't just want to ignore ourselves and the people in our lives that are important to us for the sake of building a business quickly, because I don't know why. Tell me why. Tell me your because. Well, I think about my because.
I think for me, it's recognizing the difference between a sprint and a marathon.
Yeah.
And there's a lot out there. There's a big narrative around this business.
Yeah.
Like building to 6 figures fast, or 10 figure months, or 7, like it's just the sprint thing. And the interesting thing is that and I got caught up in this a lot, especially in the beginning, and I still once in a while will be like, I could be doing more, I could be doing faster, all those things. But when I actually step back and reflect on the people that have really successful businesses, and I mean, we could, of course, extract this to successful lives. It's because they know it, because it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Because they know the difference between those two things, and they build businesses that are built to last.
Yes.
And so I think for me, like that's been one of the biggest things, like understanding those two things in every aspect of my life. So when it comes to motherhood, newborn phase, that's a sprint. You're like, I gotta get through these 3 months. I gotta figure out how to use diapers. How do I breastfeed? How do I get up in the night all the time? And like, all those things. That's a sprint. But you can't do that for 18 years. And it's the same with a business, I think. Probably in the beginning, there's like a lot of things you're trying to get up and going. And then you got to recognize, like, oh, now I'm building this bigger thing. This is a marathon. And sure, there's absolutely still sprint seasons. I do a lot around goal setting. November, December, January are like the best times for me. Whereas in the summertime, it's a little bit more like, it's not quite as busy. And for me, it's been recognizing the difference of that, and also seeing that I'm not here just for quick success.
Yes.
I'm not here to just make a quick buck or to have a business work for like a year or two. I love building things that last. And I'm really big on sustainability in every aspect. And there's not a lot of people that have built long lasting and fast businesses, because it takes time to build something that's really good. Yeah. And the more entrepreneurs that I talk to, the more that I understand like different businesses, not just online businesses, but lots of different businesses, the more I see that these things really take time to figure out, who are you really serving? What is it about you and your product or your service that's so unique and different? And what are like all those pieces that takes time to figure out. And that's a different game than just sprinting to hit 6 figures as soon as possible.
100%. I just want you to come, please, into my academy and just tell all of my students that, because I feel like that is what I say all the time. And I start to feel really bad, because there is this pressure and hyper focus on scaling and getting to six figure years and $10,000 a month and $20,000 a month as fast as possible. And there's this weird thing because a lot of programs are taught in 8 weeks and 3 months. And so people have this idea that building these 6 figure and 7 figure businesses should take months. No, they take years, multiple years. And so most of my time is just reminding my students, yep, it takes time. You've been at this for 4 months. Yep, it takes time. It takes time. It takes time.
I remember you being on my podcast, episode number 10. Great episode. Go listen to it because Lindsay's been obviously phenomenal.
We'll put it in the show notes.
And one of the things that you said that has always stuck with me is that you see, or I think you said the quote was something like, stop trying to cram years worth of business building into months. Yeah. And that always sticks with me. That's something that I tell people because I'm telling you on your own podcast. I'm like, yes, hey, you have this great quote.
I'm stepping for you.
But I believe that. And even when I catch myself, like I can hear your voice in my head saying that again, don't try and cram it all in. And that's just what I see consistently. We have a real estate company as well. And that as well, like the people that have 100 doors or 1,000 doors, didn't build that in 3 months. That's not how that works. And if they did, it's because they're much later in life and they already have something that's already a giant platform or a giant business, or they have like access to these other networks or financing or whatever that is. We don't just start from employee working day to day, living paycheck to paycheck to like 6-figure business in 3 months. It's just not how it's very rare. Let's say that. And I think it's better for us to measure, build, and create something that is possible than it is to hope that we're the exception.
Oh gosh, yeah. Whoo, yes. There's always the unicorn businesses, right? There's always the ones that trip on something and just explode. But number one, yes, I think that it's important to, and it's actually, okay, so I'm gonna ramble here for a second. So Lisa, because you teach goal setting and you are also very anti-SMART goals, specific, measurable, realistic. But you just said, but you have to be realistic. And there is that fine line of being in reality, realistic, looking around at what you have, assets, resources, time, skill level, and being realistic, but also not putting a lid on yourself because you're also capable of learning and growing and things will progress.
Boom. Yes. What I see is the difference. People start with a realistic goal. And that's the problem, is that then they start to limit themselves.
Yes.
And so that's the phase where I like people to be like, no, if anything is possible, what do you actually want? And I'm going to tell you, most people are not like, within 2 years, I want to be sipping
margaritas on the beach of Mexico. I don't know.
Yeah. Or like most people are not like, I want to be with Jay-Z on his yacht having Krug champagne in 2 years. Most people have actually very realistic goals and things that are absolutely possible for them. But something in their head is a limiting belief that stops them from even saying, I want this. And so that's where I always say, that's why I don't like SMART, the realistic and like the actual goal creation or the goal, just being able to say it out loud, because so many people censor themselves at that. They don't even let themselves say, I want to build a successful business, or I want to have a business that I work part-time in, or I want to have this service out there in the world, or whatever that is that they want. So many people like stop themselves at that. Where I think realistic is super important is when you start making the plan. And when you start looking at then, like you need a realistic first step. Absolutely. Your first step cannot get Michelle Obama on my podcast on my first episode ever when I have zero platform. Okay. Can you get Michelle Obama on your podcast? Why the heck not? Right? Like at that goal, we don't need to censor that. We don't need to keep that realistic. But what that looks like in terms of, okay, how long might this actually take? And what are some of the things I might do? And so who are some of the people that I know today? And then who might I know in 6 months? Or who might I know in 5 years? And what are those pieces? And how can I add value to that person? It's when we use realistic to censor our dreams and our goals that it becomes a problem. And it becomes also essential to have realistic when we look at what is our goal that I believe in, that I'm confident, that I really deeply desire. And what is my capacity and what are my current resources? And then how do I expand that? And how long might that take?
Yes. I love that. That is such an important distinction. Have big, lofty, audacious goals, even if you don't know how you're going to get there, even if you don't even know how long it's going to take you to get there, but you can have the goals, but then understand that then it just takes time. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and go easy on yourself to ram and jam and push. Let those steps happen. Let your skill level increase, let the resources come, let your platform get louder. Brilliant. Brilliant. So one thing I'd love to touch on is you talked about the real estate. That's another one of your business, the real estate. Would you say real estate?
Yeah, let's call it real estate investing.
Investments
Yeah.
that you and your husband do as well. And that's such a great example again of it's a marathon, not a sprint. And it took the time that it took, but now it's growing exponentially. So tell us a little bit about
Yes.
how this applies here.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. We've been real estate investing for about 10 and a half years now. And we started out super simple. We started with my husband owned a house and we were going to buy another house together. And it was that question of, should we keep this house or should we sell it? And should we keep it as a rental, as an investment, or should we sell it and maybe get a bigger house? And we decided at that point, there was that juncture of like bigger vision for the life. And he was like, we're getting into some of my values and some of my philosophies and stuff like that, and take them or leave them. But we want to be financially prosperous. We want to be abundant. We want to be able to have flexibility and also security. And I'm not counting on inheritances or pensions or things like that. I don't know if those are going to be there. So we wanted to create a really stable financial future in case something happened or for a great retirement. And so we're like, oh, this is a vehicle that could help us in addition to our other investments and get there. And I remember kind of thinking, playing, being like, oh, how cool would it be to have 100 doors one day? And I was like, I have no idea how to get there. No idea like what that would be, but that would be really amazing. I think if we could just have this passive income funnel. Now, I didn't know that word 10 and a half years ago, but almost like a passive income juggernaut. And I'll tell you, we held on to that one house for, I think, 4 years. And then we sold it. And then we bought and did like rent to own for a couple years. And then we bought a condo. And then we bought a duplex. And this was about 6-7 years later. And 6 or 7 years, we only had one extra door. We only had one rental property. And then we got into duplex. That was a big scary thing. It was like, oh my gosh, 2 people, 1 house. Oh my gosh. So we had 3 doors for about a year. And we're like, this is cool actually, because it's just one roof and like one contract for the maintenance. And this is easier. Okay. And then the next year we found a 6-plex and we're like, oh, whoa, okay. Can we do this? Yeah. Okay, let's try this. And so then we did the 6-plex. And then we got more comfortable with bigger units and different things that we need to look for in terms of property management. And we figured out, oh, this is the system that really works well for us because we know how to find these kind of properties. We know how to renovate these properties. We know what we're doing with this. And so once we figured out like what our system was, and again, now we're talking 7-8 years in.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, we've done Airbnb, we've done rent to own, we've done short term, we've done house hacking, we've done like all of these things. Now all of a sudden we figured out multifamily, like here we go. And we had 9 doors for about, I think, another year and a bit. So now we're talking 9 years later. And in year 9 to year 10, we've gone from 9 to soon to be 39.
Yeah.
Let me also say this. If we had known what we knew now, if I had known what understand what I understand about goal setting and about setting intentions and not trying to be, quote, realistic back then, we could have made this happen a heck of a lot faster. But here we are now. And now that we know what we know, now it's been able to just grow so much faster. Yeah. And because we've really dialed in on this is what we're really good at. And also this is what aligns with our goals. And this is like where we are in our life and what we can have the capacity for. And we know how to outsource. We know how to find great property managers. We know how to do the financing. We know how to find investors. Like we know the neighborhoods. We just know what we're doing now so much faster. And I don't know, we definitely would not have been a good scene if we had bought 30 properties in the first year. Mm-hmm. That would have been, I think, a giant mess. And not to mention, we didn't even know how to do that because financing becomes a really big issue. But I think we probably could have half our timeline, but we couldn't have done it all in 3 months. That's for sure. No way. And what you said too, right? Okay, if we knew then what we knew now, but you didn't. And I think that's the important thing that people don't give themselves enough credit for is number one, their capacity to learn, right? And improve. And that also that it takes as long as it takes. There is no point in looking back and beating ourselves up. It's like, you don't wake up one day and say, I want to be a brain surgeon. And then bam, they hand you a scalpel. There is years of learning and practicing and apprenticing. If we can give ourselves a break and understand that we may not have the skills or the learning or the resources yet, but we will get there. It will be the same in anything that you do, even parenting, your business, investing, whatever. As your skills improve and as your knowledge and understanding improves, it'll skyrocket. That is really common for people with businesses. Those first 3 years in a business, let's be honest, they're just a mess. You're all over the place. Things are evolving and changing so quickly. You're often pivoting, you're trying new things. But somewhere around year 5, I find that things really like gel and come together and you've nailed your market and your offerings and your messaging and your products and services. And we just see this exponential growth happen
We've seen it with your real estate investment. Do you see it showing up? Because your business, the goal setting portion of what you do is still relatively new, and hello pandemic, it has definitely slowed things down. But have you seen that in your business or even in your community and your clients?
Oh my gosh, 100%. Yes. And I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, we are right around year 5, but there's been some pregnancies, some losses, some real babies, and pandemic.
Yeah.
So I was like, just reflecting as you were even saying that, I feel like we're probably closer to like year 2, 3, maybe in terms of like actual hours worked and consistency and things like that. But it's amazing how things are all of a sudden coming together. For example, my mastermind that I run, in the past, we've had decent numbers, but the people that like stayed in and stayed engaged, some people would drop off, some people would do amazing, but it just wasn't quite gelling. Some people were getting great results, but it wasn't consistent for everybody and they weren't all showing up, and it was just messy. And then this year when we relaunched the mastermind, it was like super clear. These are the people, they're all in. And in the last, literally probably, it's a 6-month mastermind. Probably for the last 3 months of it, everyone's been going like, what am I going to do without this? I can't live without this. This is amazing. This has been life-changing. What are we going to do next? And so that is a great sign that something is working and gelling. And what's really cool now is I'm like, okay, so now what do we create for these people? Now that we've really figured that out, is okay, what do they need now? And how do we really serve them for the next evolution of growth? I'm like, okay, 2 more years and it'll feel like really rocking. But I definitely noticed that gelling, and that's the mastermind as one example, but it really shows up in so many other things too. Like I created a planner and we just launched it in December of 2020. And it's been really cool how, we're not making thousands of dollars a month, but every month there's consistently people buying it and sharing it with friends and sharing it on social media. And then some of those people end up in our workshops, and then some of those people end up in our community, and then end up in our mastermind. And so it's definitely an evolution. It does become clearer who exactly I'm serving and how I'm best able to serve. And even what do I like doing more? What do I not like? What do I like talking about? What do I not like talking about? What do I feel comfortable talking about? Where do I want to expand myself into? And who that attracts in. And it's really cool to see all those things come together. And it definitely takes time. Like I can't imagine having done it much faster.
Yeah. And what you just said there too, I love that. Who am I expanding? We often think about the business, the customer, the client, the product, the service, and we forget about ourselves as an entrepreneur. It is also our journey along with our business's journey. Like we are 2 different entities. And who are you expanding into as yourself? One of the things that you said recently that I just loved is you talked about how by playing more and having more fun in your business, that has been the only answer to working with the best clients and becoming profitable. So when you think about who am I expanding into and how am I playing more and how am I letting my business grow into that place, I would love to hear your thoughts on that realization and the difference it has made in your business.
I have a lot of things to say on this. Let me start with this, which kind of ties to what we were talking about before. What am I expanding into? I have a membership. I have a community. And what I did is I was like, everyone else is doing this like evergreen, like work whenever you want kind of thing. So what I'm going to do in my community is I am going to create a monthly training. I can create it anytime I want to. This flexibility is awesome. I'll create some slides, I'll record it, and then we'll release it on the day. It'll be amazing. I'm going to tell you, it took about, gosh, I don't know. I'm a slow learner apparently, like a year and a bit, maybe longer to realize I don't like that.
Yeah.
It is a grind for me. And this is, everyone's gonna be different, but for me, it is a grind to sit here by myself, lay out a workshop, and then create all the slides, and then have to pump myself up, turn on my lights, turn on my mic, do my hair and makeup, and then pretend to give the energy for this whole workshop. And then people will watch it or maybe they won't. And I was like, okay, this sucks, because I've literally built an entire product around this and service around this, and it's doing pretty well and people are enjoying it. Now what?
Yeah.
And when I realized, I was like, what do I actually enjoy doing? Like, what's the joy for me? What do I love? I was like, oh, I love doing this. I just love doing it live. I just love doing this when there's interaction. I can see, are people getting this? Are there questions? What do people need? Where are we going with this? Yes, you're into it. You got it. Yes. And so simple shifting into doing it live, shifting it into hosting live workshops, not fussing about all the slides, not fussing about having it look perfect, all the right lighting, makeup, sound, editing, all those things. And just being like, okay, this is the day we're going to do our goal setting workshop. Show up, you show up, I'll show up. It's going to be great. And And that's what we started doing. And that has been such a game changer. Our retention in our membership has gone up so much. My enjoyment of it, I no longer resent having to make that content. Now, as I'm prepping, it's just a completely different energy, because when I prep, I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going to work for them. Or I think about an engaging question I can ask, which is what I love. And so the whole experience of that has completely changed, and people get better results. People actually show up for the workshops. They build community with each other. And there's a lot, this is getting a little bit membership specific, but do you think like our businesses revolve around community too, and having a bigger mission than just to be profitable for me or for you. And so it's really cool to see those people come together, and using my natural gift and my natural playfulness of wanting to do things live and wanting to be with them. So that's like a very tangible example of something that I've shifted in my business over the last 6 to 12 months that's made a massive difference in our retention, in our client results, and in just like me not resenting it, me wanting to be a part of it. So that's really cool. So that's one thing I will definitely say. One other thing I think that has made a big difference in terms of having more fun, every so often I'll do something called a results list or success list. And it's very fancy. It's another piece of paper with a line down the middle. I've done this in lots of different contexts. I've done it in the context of the last 6 months. What are all the successes or the results or wins that I've had? I've done it very specifically in my business too. What are the successes I've had in my business? And what are the things I'm really proud of and all that? And after I list that out on the right side of the page, then what I do is I go to the left side and I look through my calendar, I look through my emails, I look through my social, I look through what have my planner, what the heck have I been doing? What have I been spending time on in the context of that? So again, if I'm looking at the last 6 months or 12 months, it'll be in those last 6, 12 months, what have I been doing? Who have I been spending time with? What have I been focusing on? If it's in respect to my business, it's what are the business things I've been doing? Social media posting, this networking meeting, this networking event, this speaking engagement, this podcast, or whatever that is. And I listed out all those things. And then what I did is I started to draw lines between what were the results and what were the actions that actually got me those results. Yeah. Every time I do this, a clearly slow learner, because I have to repeatedly do this. Every time I do this, it's always things that are like bachelorette party, brunch, speaking engagement, or collaboration coffee with this person, or co-working with this person. It's always the things that are like about other people. And here's the kicker part. Me, myself, as an extrovert, it's always the things that I really enjoy doing. Yeah. It's always the things that are really fun for me, the things that are not like, okay, sit down and create my content strategy for the next 30 days, or sit down and make these emails perfect, or have this new fancy landing page or automated funnel or anything. It's never any of those things. It's always the things that I love doing, that I have fun doing, that really, I'm like, I don't even care if anybody pays me for this. I'm having a good time. The irony of it all is that's exactly where I get paid.
Exactly. Like for everybody listening, go back, reverse this a little bit, listen to what Lisa just said again, because that is it. We get so caught up in, like you said, the content planner, the sales funnels, the automation. Like we get caught up in what I call busy work, the things that make us feel like it's like we have control over it. It's something tangible. So we think that's what's going to build our business and make us money, but it's not. It is those things that seem fun, right? Those like going to an event or a bachelorette party, you're talking to people, or you see someone on social, you see their post and you think, oh, that's really cool. I want to connect with this person. And it's losing the agenda and losing the need to feel like you have to control the outcome, and just sit in the magic of having fun. Follow your light, what lights you up, what excites you, what feels good. That's where the money is. That's where the profitability comes from. And it's hard for entrepreneurs to trust that. Even you said it's taken 1.5 years for you to really finally let that click, that wait, when I'm having fun, when I'm following the light, that's where the profitability comes from.
Even just you saying it again, having it mirrored back to me, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm going into a launch next week. And here I am being like, oh, I should say no to these plans with people, and no, I got to work all these things. And that's how hardwired these thoughts or these habits have become in my head. And so it has to be a very conscious effort of reprogramming that, of being like, no, I know where my money comes from. I know where my joy comes from. And it's the same thing. I think that's how the world works, is that it's the things that we love and that we're really good at that we become better at. And that's where our value is for ourselves and for others. But now even, just hearing this, I'm like, okay, next week, I just got to have as much fun as possible and say yes to all the things that are really joyful for me, because that's going to result in the good things, not the emails, you can already tell my energy as soon as I start to talk.
You're just like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I share this not as someone who has this all figured out. And not as someone who is perfect in this. I understand the busy work. I understand the pull to the things that are safe, the things that we can control. I love the way you frame that. I even understand the things that feel like practical or like it should work because it's working for other people. I get all that pull. And I've also seen how as I pull away from that and step back and get more into myself, what do I feel, what lights me up? And then also looking at very tangible results list and being like, yeah, none of that is actually doing anything. Yep. So let's do more of the things that are working. I'm still on a journey on that process on that, but that's what's really helped me. It's been super easy to find investors in our business, hanging out with people. It's been super easy to connect with people, to join our mastermind and join our community just by having conversations and just by meeting people on the seawall from, being a part of mom's group or some networking. Like it's way easier and more fun.
Yeah, it's like the path of least resistance. If you feel pulled somewhere, if you feel called somewhere, explore that. If you feel resistance, like Lisa, you just said if you're feeling that, maybe analyze if you really actually need that. And I love how you literally connect the dots. You literally, what's working? What am I doing? Connect the dots and seeing what actually is bringing in customers, clients, money and growth and enjoyment and what's not. And then like everything that's not can just F off. Like you don't need it. Let it go. Stop trying to make yourself do something that's not enjoyable, that's not even working in the first place.
Totally.
So as we begin to wrap up here,
oh my gosh, this has gone so fast. I can't believe it's already time to wrap up. I'm like, can't we just go all day?
Oh, don't worry, because we're going to be doing our YouTube. We're going to skip right into a YouTube video after this. And I already know exactly what I want us to dive into. So folks that are listening, make sure you come to our YouTube channel at The Radical Connector and watch, because I can't wait. I'm going to be getting you to give us some steps, some how-tos on some fun things. But first, what advice would you have for new entrepreneurs who are still getting caught up in the busy work that they feel like they can control and start to get comfortable with releasing that and follow what lights them up? What would you give them as some advice to move into that space?
I think a couple of things. So first of all, I would understand first, what is your light really? I love that you say that, follow your light, Lindsay. What is the thing that actually you really do find joy in? And I find a lot of us don't even know that, or it evolves or it changes. And so it's important to check in. So what I would say, a really simple tool that one of my mentors taught me back when I was in the corporate world, have 2 sticky notes, bigger sticky notes, one on the right side of your desk, one on the left side of your desk. I'm very big on like the very fancy tools here. And pay attention for the next week or 2. And anytime you find yourself dreading something or procrastinating on it, or you just keep pushing it off to the next day, or it takes you forever to do, write that down on the left side of the paper. And anytime you find yourself doing something and you're like, oh my gosh, I really need to pee, but I just can't leave this, want to keep going. Or you realize it's been 5 hours and you haven't eaten yet, or you feel yourself pulled to it, write that down on the right side of the paper. And at the end of a week or 2, you're going to start to really get a clear picture of what are the things that you are drawn to and what are the things that you are not enjoying. And then what I think you can do is for yourself too, in your business, is look at the results list and create this for yourself. On one side of the paper, write down all the results and successes. And some of them, especially if you're new, some of the successes may be more like someone gave you a referral, even if it didn't necessarily end up in the person joining, it was an opportunity, right? So maybe referrals is a thing. Or maybe it's a success is somebody inviting you on their podcast, or it may not necessarily only be clients, especially in the very beginning, but I will encourage you, whatever clients or money you brought in, to dissect those really carefully and be like, what did I actually do to get those things? Yeah. And get your own results list or your own success list. This one may be controversial for some people, so take it or leave it. But what I wish I had done, and my advice would be that the things that are not your light, but you think they still need to get done, to look at how you can outsource some of those things. That way, it's not you having to do it. It calms down that part of your brain that's, oh my gosh, but I have to be doing this thing. Maybe it has to be done, but someone else can do it. And start looking at what are a couple of those things that you can maybe look at outsourcing. As an example, I don't love uploading the videos of my recordings from my workshops, but that does actually need to get done because it's part of our paid service. And so I have an assistant who helps out with that and gets that done. And she actually loves it. She loves seeing the tangible piece of, look, I've uploaded this, it's done. Like it's a part of her enjoyment. What lights her up is she doesn't like the things that are really vague and not concrete. She likes the things that she can see actually moving. So it works out really well. So I would say that. I know there's different schools of thought in terms of outsourcing when you're new. But I think if it's holding you back from doing the things that you really want to do, and I think especially online business is getting more complicated. Online business is getting more competitive, and many different businesses are. Like, you have to be ready to have a leg up. And I think the more light that you can shine, that's your leg up. The light that you shine, that's what differentiates you. The light that you shine attracts people to you, to your business, to your product, to your service. And so you need to give yourself as much time, space, capacity that you can do that while having fun. And sometimes that means outsourcing some of the things that are not a part of that.
And also too, the outsourcing doesn't have to be paid. Do you have a partner, a sibling, a child, a parent, a friend who would happily spend the 20 or 30 minutes a week that this has to get done, or an hour a week, and do it for you? You probably have people in your immediate network and circles who would love to support you if you're still bootstrapping, and do it. You just show them how to do it and they'll do it. So don't forget that you have, like you said at the very beginning, Lisa, it takes a village. We are not self-made. You have people in your village who will help you with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so good, so good. You can also look at trades. Like, sometimes there's like trades can make sense, or swap, like value
Barters.
swaps.
Yep.
Yeah, like that can be a thing too that helps you. And also, like, you can also look at maybe even freelancing yourself out a little bit to make some extra cash. Because, like, I'll tell you, I would rather be leading workshops all day long versus doing my bookkeeping.
Yeah.
It's not just a time exchange, it's an energy exchange, right? Like, it's about what are the things that light you up, that excite you. And so even if I had to like do a paid workshop that wasn't necessarily my business, or do something that wasn't in my business to get paid for it so that I could pay somebody else, that would be worth it in certain cases. So that I don't have to do the thing that it really makes me drag my feet, constrict my voice, not being able to breathe because I'm so dreading it. So yeah, I think that I would say get creative on that. And a good question to ask for anything, if you're doubtful, is how is this possible?
Yeah.
How is this possible?
Whenever I get stuck, I remind myself that there's always a creative solution if I just get out of my own way and think about what's not possible or how I can't do something, and just make a list. And all of a sudden, these are those shower thoughts, or those quiet walks where I never thought of doing this before. I've even been in situations where I've orchestrated like three-way trades. Like, I need someone to do bookkeep, this other person needs coaching, and this other person needs makeup. I don't know. And so we decide on the value and we do a three-way trade. So everybody's getting what they need, but it's not a direct one-for-one. You can be so creative when you just stop thinking about what won't work and start thinking about what could work.
Yeah. So good. Yes, absolutely.
I love it. Okay, so Lisa, tell folks a little bit about your mastermind, and if people wanted to be like, I love Lisa, I want to be in her world. Tell folks how they could be in your world and what your world's all about.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. Oh, my world is all about realness and definitely not being perfect. Don't have it all figured out. I believe in sharing and having these real conversations and being able to open these things up. And most of the work that I do is around goal setting. And it really comes down to a lot of what we talked about today, which is even just giving yourself permission. You'd be shocked how many people don't give themselves permission to say what they really. Somebody in our mastermind, it's taken her 5 months to really be able to come out and confidently say, this is what I want. And you know what? She said, like, that's life-changing. When you can really be aligned with who you are and what you want, the rest of it comes. The rest of it we can figure out. There's the billions of articles online and podcasts and people that can help you with the steps. And it's about figuring out what you want. So I really help people figure that out. And then I help them make a plan to get out of their own way and stay out of their own way, because it's a journey. We're all on a journey. So I have a podcast called Goalden Girls Podcast. And I know Lindsay's chuckling a little bit because it's spelled differently. It's GOAL as in goal, Goalden Girls. And now that I've said that, you'll be like me and spell golden wrong all the time.
I still do. I do. I can't spell golden anymore.
I love that. That's my favorite. So I have a podcast. We have a year-round community called Goalden Girls Community. We run a mastermind twice a year, and that's a really intimate container. It's 6 to 7 months, 3 times a month, where we connect and really support each other. And what are you going through? What's worked for you? I think we talked a little bit about pulling the mask off. That's literally what we do in this group, is having real conversations, people going through separations, people wanting to leave their quote dream business, and people having to navigate toxic relationships, toxic work environments. It's very diverse women, very unique experiences, but it's incredible when we actually bring people together and everyone just shows up as themselves. Like, it's incredibly powerful. I believe that anything is possible, and it's about having the right plan and making sure you stay out of your way to make it happen.
I love it. Anything is possible. You just need the right plan and to get out of your way so it can happen out of your own way. I love it, Lisa. That's amazing.
Community support is everything. Entrepreneurship, there's a lot out there around self-made. And I'll be honest with you, I sometimes even put that in my bio, depending on who the bio is going to, because I think people like expect self-made. But my parents did not give me a business. My parents did not have not gotten major inheritances. But like, it's community. It's people like you, Lindsay, who invite me onto your podcast and you've come onto mine and share your gifts in my community. It's people that have offered to help take my daughter so I can get some work done. It is the cleaner that we have that comes to our house and we just started outsourcing this and it's amazing, who gives me some of my mental sanity back. Like, I am community made. I'm not self-made. And I think that's an important thread in everything that we do. I want to challenge that self-made notion and create spaces to lean on each other more.
I love what you just said. I'm community made. I want to get a t-shirt. I want that to be a bumper sticker. I want that a button. I'm community made. It takes a village, and such a powerful note to end our conversation on, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay. I love you. I love your energy. The questions you ask are always so good. And I just love your heart for helping new entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is such a ride, such a journey. You're helping people have more fun in it, be less hard on themselves, and just find the joy on their way to profitability. So everyone that's listening is so lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have you in my life. And thank you so much.
Amazing. Aw, thank you. All right, listeners, check out the show notes for all the ways that you can connect with Lisa and check out what she's all about. And of course, come on over to the YouTube video that we are about to go record, because I want to share some tips on how we can get out of sprint and back into marathon mindset as we build our businesses. Yes, it's happening. All right, we will see y'all over on YouTube. Lisa, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you want to learn more about joining my community for new entrepreneurs and influencers who want to ditch the busy work and discover how to work less and play more all the way to 6 figures and beyond, please visit theradicalconnector.com. Check out today's show notes for all the juicy resources we covered. If you loved what you've heard, subscribe and leave a review. Happy connecting. I will see you online.